Good morning, grade 5 and 6. I'm going to show you a video that's just introducing percent and what percent means, what it's all about. When the video is done, you need to come back to our WhatsApp chat so that we can discuss and practice some of the ideas I'm presenting to you so that I know that you understand what I'm talking about and that you understood this lecture, okay? And there's more notes in our WhatsApp chat about what exactly I expect. All right, so percents. Percents are one of the easiest things to do in math, but you have to remember some basic ideas, okay? Now, percents are always about 100, okay? They're always about 100. So, for example, 50 over 100 equals 50%. It's that simple. 50 over 70 does not equal 50%. That's wrong. It's not 50%. Why? Because this is a 70 and it has to be 100. Okay, that's it. That's the rule. Now, everything else I talk about is going to be based on that rule. If you don't remember this simple rule, you're going to have a hard time with percents. Okay, the bottom number has to be 100. That is what makes a percent, always. Okay, now as we get more and more complicated in percents, you'll discover new things about it, but it's always 100 on the bottom. That's what a percent means. Okay, it's out of 100. That's what a percent means. So if somebody says give 110%, well, actually that's impossible because 110% is more than everything. 100 is all. Okay, so remember 100 on the bottom. So there are many ways to show percents. As I've already discussed, one of the ways you can show percents is over 100. So that's obviously 30%, or 27 over 100, which equals 27%, or 94 over 100, which equals 94%. Notice how I'm always writing the percent sign? That's important. If I have a percent, I have to write a percent sign afterwards, okay? So then, of course, there's just as a percent. You can always write it that way. So you can write, for example, 16%, which if you wrote it in words would look like this. 16%, just like that, all right? Or 21%. And just as a quick reminder, what does that mean? 21% means 21 over 100. 16% means 16 over 100. See that? It's still 100. It's always 100. And then the last one here as a blank out of blank. So in this case, we could go a 16 out of 100. Or 21 out of 100. So you see how that works? There's three ways. Here's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. See that? Okay. You can also draw percents. Now, if you're drawing percents, the first thing you have to do in a basic kind of thing is you've got to make sure that your box is, of course, divided into 100 pieces. Let's try this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. There's 10. Let's see if I can just erase that. Oh, shoot. Let me start that again. That didn't work very well. Okay. So you make yourself a box. Why do we divide it into 100 pieces? Because we're talking about percents, and percents are always out of 100. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and this is not correct, but if I try and erase it, it's going to erase everything, so I don't want that. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there we go. Now I have a box out of 100. So if I wanted to color 16%, I would color 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's 16%. See that? Okay, and the same thing is true for all of them. I just color the correct number of boxes. Or let's say there's already some colored. Let's say, ignore the top, pretend the top isn't done, but let's say all of this is colored down here. That would be 30%. Pretend this isn't colored up at the top here, okay? That would be 30% because I've got 30 colored. Now the nice thing about this is because it's a 10 by 10 grid, I don't have to count each one. I can go 10, 10, 10, that's 30. Okay? So 30%. So when you're drawing percents, this is really simple. You've just got to get that all sorted out. All right. We can estimate percents. So let's say somebody gives me a box like this and asks me about how much of the box is colored there. Well, I look at that and I see it's half the box. Well, I know half of 100 is 50. So it's 50%. Okay. Another way of looking at this is I know I have 1/2. But what I want on the bottom is I want 100 on the bottom here. Well, how did I get to 100? I'm sorry, excuse my sneeze. How did I get to 100? Times 50, right? So how do I get to the 100 on the top? Times 50. So I get a 50 on the top, and there's my 50%, okay? And the same thing. What if I have something like this? I have a box, and it's divided like this, and I've got this much of it colored. Okay, wow, that's tricky because that's 3/4 from your fractions. But again, what do we remember? Common denominators. I have to have 100 at the bottom, right? I always have to have 100 on the bottom. So 4 times what gives me 100? You may not know that in your head, but remember the opposite of multiplication is division. So you could go 100 divided by 4, and you're going to get 25. So now I know this is a 25. So now I go 3 times 25, and I get 75. So what percent is this? It's 75%. It is not 3%. Don't do that. That's nonsense. Okay? It's one of those things. And because these are estimates, okay, and what we're doing here is we're estimating. This is just a continuation of this. These two ideas are connected together. If you're not exactly right, I'm okay. But you got to be close. You can't be far away. For example, if I look at this right here, and you guys say, give me, I think this is 10%, this is definitely not 10%. Remember, if we look at this, 10% is one of these rows. Does that look anything the same? Of course not. So you look at this and you think, oh, well, oh, there we go. Now I have about 3 equal pieces. So I have 1 out of 3. Okay, well, 3 goes into 100. Now this one's tricky because nothing exactly times 3 makes 100. So you got to think of it. But it's about 1/3, and we know about 1/3 is 33%. What that means is basically you're looking at multiplying by 33. And when you multiply by 33, you get 99, not 100, but that's okay. It's close enough. So then we multiply by 33 here, and we get 33 over 100. All right? That when you do thirds are always 33.3333333 forever. All right? And then you can also put percents on a number line. Just like lots of other things you can put on a number line. Actually, I don't want arrows on the end of that. Okay, percents on a number line. So if this is 0% and this is 100, and I ask you to put 50% on this number line, well, that's really easy. It's in the middle. There's 50%. Yay, that's so easy. But what if I say, what's this percent right here? Okay, now you have to look at your number line. And you have to think through, what makes sense for this? Okay, well, that one's actually pretty easy because you can see it's halfway between 0 and 25. Sorry, 0 and 50. And we know halfway between those is 25. So that one's 25%. What about this one right here? Now, oh my goodness, it's even closer there. That's probably closer to maybe 10%, right? Because 20% is going to be there, 30% is going to be there, 40% is going to be there, 50%. See that? Okay, so I know most of you have a lot of trouble with number lines, so this one's going to take you a little bit of time when you do your number line work, but it's not that tricky, okay? All right, so let's just quickly go to your work pages. All right, so grade 5s, you're going to be doing days 6 and 7. In your green book that says homeschool. I think it's green. Don't quote me on that. All right. So the first one is look at how much is shaded. In this case, all of this is colored in. And then write the percent. And the thing you want to remember with this is that you don't have to count each one. You can count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 61, 62, 63, so 63%. So you don't have to count each and every one of them, all right? And then the rest of it is just like this. This next one here, remember, this is what I was telling you about, is you have to find your common denominators. So here you've got a quarter, 1 out of 4, but we want it to be 1 out of 100. So what do we have to do to get there? Well, this is times 25. So the top is times 25, and we got 25% because we get 25 out of 100 here. And then we just continue that with all of those. All right, this one right here, it wants you to color. So you're coloring 27%. Again, this is really easy to color because we know one whole roll is 10. So there's 10, there's 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. I think I miscounted there. I got messy at the end. There we go. It should look like that. Okay, and you just keep on going. Color the given percent of each shape. So 20. So you can cut it into 100 pieces, or you can decide, ooh, I don't want to cut it into 100 pieces, but I know that 20 over 100 is the same thing as 1 over 5, because 100 divided by 20 is 5, 20 divided by 20 is 1. And then I can cut it into 5 pieces and color one of them, just like that. But try and be a little neater than I was there, okay? It's a little hard to be neat on the tab. And then this last one here is what I was talking about in terms of line segments. Mark and label the percent. So we've got a line here. So where is 10% on this line? Where is 20%? Where is 70%? Where is 75%? Where is 90%? Same thing here. Where is 33%? Where is 66%? All right. And then this next one, A is what? Write a percent here. B is what? Write a percent. All right, grade 6s, your work is quite similar to the grade 5s. Here you write percent in 2 different ways. I talked about that at the beginning of this lecture, so I'm not going to talk about it again. Here, write the percent for the shaded part. I already explained how that works for grade 5, so you just do the same thing for you. Here, color, same thing. I explained it already for grade 5. Here you have to color 8 more and then tell me the percent. So don't tell me the percent of what's colored right now. Color 8 more and then tell me what the new percent is. This one right here, again, we've talked about this with the grade 5s in their work, same thing for you. And this last one here, you have to use the information here to figure everything out, okay? So here, how many boys are there? So what's the percent? In this grid, we already know there's 100 in this grid because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I missed one there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's a 10 by 10 grid. So we know 10, 20, 30, 40. But that's not right for the boys because there's still some boys over here yet too. And down here, we're talking about group A, group B, and group C. Well, unless they're specifically asking about girls and boys, the very first thing we have to do is figure out how many children there are in each group. It doesn't matter if they're boys or girls. All that matters is how many children are in the group. So there's 30 children in group C. So what's the percent for group C? 30%, because there's 30 children. Okay, good luck with the work. Remember, you need to log back in. Some of you are just going to be tempted to just go straight to your work and not come back into the class discussion. But the class discussion is there to help make sure you understand this work, because a lot of you go straight into your work and then you do like half your page or more wrong. So please come back for the chat. All right.